Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. For today's episode, I am going to show you how to make a simple maxi dress with ruffly sleeves. So if you want to learn how, keep on watching. As you can see, I will be using this shirt as my pattern. I simply trace the bodice, the front bodice and the back bodice, and I'm also going to trace the sleeve. I also folded the shirt probably like 2 inches higher than my belly button because that is the narrowest part of my body, and I want to highlight that, and that is really flattering. I also added 1/4 inch allowances on all of the sides like the shoulders and the side seams. Now it's time to make a skirt pattern. So I use the bodice as my guide. So basically the bodice is quarter of my waistline. And then I cut out a piece of paper that is a quarter of my waistline. So I'm using the bodice as my guide. So it is about 6.5 inches wide, including the allowance. And then the length of the pattern is totally up to you. This was floor length. After that, I divided the pattern or the paper into fours, just like what you see here, and I'm going to fan it. That will give me that flowiness on the bottom of the dress. And if you want a more flowy dress, you can cut all the strips into half, so you will have 8 strips that you can fan out. I am going to tape the bodice and the skirt pattern here. In reality, you will want to trace this pattern or skirt pattern. You will trace it onto another paper, so you will have a one piece of pattern. But because I'm a little lazy, I decided to just kind of not do it. But really, you have to trace it onto another paper so you can save the pattern for your next project. Now I am going to place the pattern onto my fabric. I folded the fabric in half, so I will have a one panel. I will also use the same pattern for the back panel. The only difference is the front panel, the neckline is going to be a little deeper than the back. Now it's time to cut it out. If this is your first time to be doing this project, be sure to add extra seam allowances just to give you some room to adjust your project if you need to. Same goes for the back panel. I just use the front panel as my template, as you can see here, so the fabric will match perfectly. Now I am going to match the shoulder seams and the side seams. I'm going to pin it together and then I'm going to sew it later on. By the way, you guys, excuse the mess at the background. My kids were playing house while I was sewing, so yeah. Now it's time to cut out the sleeves, and you guys, I didn't have enough fabric for this, so instead of long sleeves, I'm going to turn it into short sleeves instead. Using the leftover fabrics, I am going to make some mini ruffles. So I basically just fold the fabric twice, just like this, to form a triangle. And I want the ruffles to be 2 inches wide, and that is including the allowances. So the first one was a little too short, so I decided to cut another one, and it's still a little too short, so I decided to cut another one, and then that was a perfect length. I will need one more for the other sleeve, obviously. Now I am going to pin the ruffle onto the right side of the sleeve, just like this, and I'm matching it raw edges to raw edges. And then I will top stitch it, just like so. I am just using the edge of the presser foot as my guide, so that is about 1/4 of an inch. Now it's time to hem the ruffle. You can just fold it once if you like because this fabric doesn't fray. I have to warn you because it is so narrow, it was actually a struggle to sew. The fabric was so soft and slippery, it was like moving a lot. So I ended up stopping right here and unpicking the stitches or the hem that I did, which took forever by the way because I was really careful not to poke a hole on the actual fabric. I decided to use my rolled hem foot. So it looks like this. And of course, I'm going to test it before I use it on the actual fabric. Because the fabric was too soft, I was actually really struggling to get the fabric inside the swirl. What I ended up doing is rolling the fabric or the end of the fabric onto the foot and then attach it onto my sewing machine. Once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty easy. It's much better if you practice a few times before using your actual garment or your fabric. The end result though is really, really good. That's why it is worth the effort. Now I am going to fold the sleeve in half and sew the seams. I'm just going to use my serger for this, so I'm going to serge the shoulder seams and the side seams. If you don't have a serger, you can always use your sewing machine. Obviously, you can use a zigzag stitch or a stretch stitch. You will do the same thing on the other side seam. Now I am serging the inseams of the sleeve. After that, it's time to sew the sleeves onto the dress. I am going to place the sleeve in the armhole and I will match the seams and pin it all the way around. Right sides of the fabrics are facing each other. I will repeat the same process onto the other sleeve. Now the dress is 80% complete. Now it's time to finish the neckline. There are so many options how to finish a neckline. I have done neck binding or just double folding it. It's totally up to you. For this project, I decided to use a bias neck facing. So yeah, I'm just going to test it out today and hopefully it turned out. So I just made my own bias tape. It is about 1 inch wide and a little longer than the neckline because I just wanted to have some extra just in case. After sewing a stay stitch around the neckline, now I am going to make these small cuts around the neckline. It will just release the tension of the fabric, especially on the curve. Now I am going to place the bias tape on the right side of the fabric. As you can see, I am just pinning it on the edge of the neckline here, all the way around. Because the stay stitch is around 1/4 inch wide, I decided I am going to sew the bias tape on the neckline about 1/2 inch so it will not show when I fold the bias tape over. And if you notice, I am not stretching the neckline at all. I am just helping it a little bit, but I'm not stretching it out. I don't want the neckline to be all stretched out. Don't want that either. Now it should look something like this. Before I finish it, I am going to serge the raw edges. You should have 3 raw edges here. After I serge the raw edges, I am going to fold it under and then I'm going to pin it to secure. I'm just going to sew it all the way around and I'm actually really careful because I want the stitches to be nice and even. It's going to be the finish stitching, so you want it to be tidy. And I'm also using the edge of the presser foot as my guide. Now all I have to do is finish the hemlines and the dress is done. Oh my goodness, this dress turned out so cute. I can't believe it. This is probably my favorite sewing project. Seriously. I can also wear this without belt. I think it looks cute as well for a casual vibe. I really love the mini ruffles on the sleeves. I really like it. I think it's so cute. So that's it, you guys, and I hope you like this simple tutorial. If you enjoyed it and if you are inspired, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can also hit that notification bell so you will get notified whenever I post a new video. Have a wonderful week and I will see you soon. Bye!